everybody, what's happening? It is Griff Hamlin here from Blues Guitar Unleashed. Welcome, thanks for joining me today. In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about kind of just a common thing that I see here. It's there seems to be a common tendency or view from a lot of students that I work with that somehow having more notes at your disposal is going to improve your blues soloing. And I sort of want to dispel that myth. And really, I want to talk to you about how you compartmentalize notes. So let's get this out of the way. It's not really a lesson. I'm not going to show you a new lick. I'm not going to show you a new riff. I'm not going to show you any of that kind of stuff. However, that's not to say that what I'm not going to show you isn't something that you may not have seen before, because it's not something that I see anyone else talk about. But it is something that comes up fairly regularly for me and like I say, with my students. So it's the kind of thing that I like to kind of point out. So as always, if you like what you see and you want to see more, check out the Blues Guitar Unleashed All Access program. It's a great way to get access to all of my courses, every single thing that I've ever done. You can download your free How to Jam PDF if you haven't done so. It's got some great tips. There's some videos actually that go with it as well. As always, if you want to get my daily emails, jump on the it's gobgu.com/thelist. I do a lot of stuff via email that I don't do here. So there's a lot more there, believe it or not. Pretty much every day. So anyway, let's talk about it. So let's say that you are playing in the key of A, all right? And I know we use A a lot, but let's just say, right, that we're in the key of A. You know what? That's going to work a lot better if I turn that camera on. So since I didn't, I'll stay on this camera. Yep, it's one of those days. All right, so hey, anyway, okay, so here's the thing. Let's say that you're in the key of A. You might think to yourself, okay, well, I can play the A minor blues scale. And you would be right? And a lot of us will use that. And a lot of us will play that. And then kind of after a while, we'll be like, you know, that sounds getting kind of boring. I'm going to try to add the major blues sound. Okay, and then you might hear that you can combine those two sounds. And so sort of the initial thought might be, well, why don't I play all of those notes? What happens if I put all of those notes together? That's a lot of notes, right? If I were to actually play a solo and play like that, it gets really chromatic. That's 9 out of 12 notes, right? That's almost every note in existence. So for any given 7th chord, there are 9 notes that are sort of in our universe. And that's not including, you know, getting jazzy with it. Okay, so I'm sort of leaving the idea of doing something jazzy out, right? I mean, really, you could make a case for any of the 12 notes. But let's say to sort of stay, you know, on the inside, right? And to stay with any chord, there's 9 notes that are going to work with that chord. That's a lot. That's a lot. And that's almost all of them. So there's very little left. Okay, well, what you may not realize is that it's the spaces between the notes that make them sound good oftentimes. Now, yes, there are times when you want to approach a note by a half step. The blue notes are a perfect example of that. Where we can use those little half steps or little things like that. those are brilliant options, and they sound wonderful, but they're specific. The half step is leading us in those cases, leading us to a really more important note. The half step is just there to sort of lead your listener to where you want it to go. Okay. So what's really important is that you learn to compartmentalize these 9 different notes in different ways. Okay. You don't want to just play all 9 notes all the time. It doesn't sound good, as you just heard. I played it. It's really not an effective way to try and solo. Nor is it really an effective way to it's too hard to pick and choose from such a large group. Okay, but when we subdivide those notes, right, when we cluster them in little groups, for example, as the minor blues scale or the major blues scale, that sounds really good. Or as an arpeggio. Or maybe an arpeggio plus a little bit. Or a major blues scale plus a note. There's a lot of little different combinations of notes, and you can experiment with them, right? The minor pentatonic or the minor blues sound is an obvious way to take a subset of those 9 notes and play something cool with it. The major pentatonic scale is also, or the major blues scale, they're effectively the same, is also another way to compartmentalize those 9 notes. An arpeggio is a way to compartmentalize those 9 notes. There are other ways to compartmentalize those 9 notes. I can take the minor blues scale, but add the second to it, right? And that might be a sound that you particularly like, okay? There's a sound that I talk about sometimes called the pentatonic. I call it the pentatonic 6 sound, and it's a minor pentatonic, but the flatted 7 has been replaced with the 6th note of the scale. And that's another sound that I really I like to use once in a while. And again, it's just a way that we can compartmentalize some of those 9 notes, so that when we play it, it doesn't sound like we're just playing chromatically through every single note. But you can also do something like, okay, let's say I'm going to take the minor pentatonic sound, the minor pentatonic scale, but I'm going to add the 6 as well as the flat 7. And that might be a great option for you. Or maybe you're going to play the major blues sound, but you're going to add the flatted 7th. Okay, so you can kind of play around with that a little bit. So what I want to encourage you to do is take, let's say, the minor blues sound. That's probably one that you're comfortable with. Add a note to it. Just pick a note. It doesn't matter which one. Experiment with it for a little while. See if you like the sound of it, right? Try a different note. See if you like the sound of it. You don't have to necessarily call it a new scale. It's a sound that's going to work for you. If it's a sound that you particularly enjoy, then figure out how to apply that same note to some of the other box patterns. And pretty soon that note becomes more of a part of your vocabulary than other notes do. Okay, but again, you don't want to play all of the 9 notes at once. You just want to pick and choose certain groups, 5, 6, maybe 7 at a time. Usually 7 at a time even is kind of too much. But 6 works pretty good, and 5, of course, is pentatonic, so we know that works great. So this is, you know, like I say, not necessarily like, okay, go play this. I just wanted to give you this idea, something to kind of try out today. You know, grab a jam track and just sort of take, okay, I'm going to play a minor blues sound over this A7, and I'm going to, you know, just see what I get. See if I like the sound of it. If I add in the 2, a B, right? And the only, pardon me, the only notes that really don't work from the root is the note a half step above it and a half step below it. Those notes are I'll say off limits, even though they're not. But for most people's purposes, they are. And the only other one is the flatted 6th or sharp 5. So from the root down to the 5th, the note a half step above that. So the note half step and a half step above and below the root, and the note a half step above the 5th. Those are the only ones you probably want to avoid. But if you're kind of a jazzy, if you like that kind of sound, then you're actually going to dig a sharp 5 and a flat 9. That's going to sound really good to you. So just depends on where your ear goes. All right. Excellent, excellent. Glad to see a bunch of you guys. Oh yeah, and of course, Michael, yes, and the blues squeeze. You can always squeeze those 3rds and 7ths. They like it. And alrighty. Well, anyway, that's kind of I don't see any questions about that, so that's all. That's cool. This is, like I said, it's just something I wanted to give you, just food for thought today. Really, you know, not a huge thing. We don't, you know, not every day is going to be a huge, massive lesson, but some days I just want to give you something to think about and something to experiment with. So today is one of those days. So I hope you dig it. As always, if you did, you know, share it with friends. Feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Facebook channel, sign up for the email list. That's actually the best way. You get the most that way. But you do it all. Do it all. It's all good. And if you have some friends that might dig this, please share it with them. And again, I'm Griff Hamlin from Blues Guitar Unleashed, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.